We have a couple new people. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves? I'm Russ, the president.
I'm Wayne Thorpe.
Wayne and Kathy. Hey, how's it going? And then,
Dave,
yes, sir.
Dave Martinson.
Dave, how you doing? Thanks for coming out.
Shelby,
Shelby is in the bonsai training program that we're doing at the gardens, training volunteers to work on the collection trees. So he'll be around. But so tonight's topic is going to be repotting. So it's a great time of year to do repotting on deciduous trees. We can show you an example of what's going on. But the primary, there's a number of reasons that we repot trees. One is if your water isn't percolating through your soil. If it has too many roots, too big of a canopy, it's a great time to go and repot that to make sure that your roots have nice new soil to expand into and grow. We also will repot to create a better root system. So bonsai soil is much better, higher quality than potting mix or a lot of the mixes that we get our plants in. So a good example of a very common bonsai mix would be lava, pumice, and akadama. So the akadama is a fired clay from Japan that holds all of the life. It holds nutrients and water, and then it will release it to the plant when it needs it. And the lava rock is the red stuff. This is a nice coarse, airy aggregate. We have this in the mix as well as the pumice, which is coarse as well. But we have those two components in the mix to help create a nice dense root system. So as the roots brush past the coarse particulate, they splinter off and make a more dense, shorter root system. Where if you grow in a potting mix or just a regular inexpensive blend, you'll see that they sometimes roots will have very long shoots and they'll circle around the container. So before they do that, we like to get them into good soil so that it will promote a more dense root system closer to the trunk instead of that root system that's further away on the outside of the container. So, but this is very nice mix, very common mix. But one part is, like I said, our general mix. So if we're going to be repotting deciduous plants, we like to use an additional part of akadama, so it holds a little bit of extra water for the deciduous plants. And if we're repotting into certain conifers, we'll use an extra part of either the pumice or the lava just to make sure that there's lots of air and that the soil is well drained and it's well drained and there's lots of oxygen exchange inside and outside of the container. So, but this is, like I said, common type of soil. So,
So that mix is we're able to use that mix. Those two, that's the gardens, right?
yeah, that's all garden soil over there.
Yeah.
We can use that too, but just don't tell anybody. But it's all I donated it all, so it's fine. I can donate more. It's not a problem. But yeah, so
Real quick before we get started, just
yep.
some general announcements. So these are all on the website. Thank you, Troy. But on April 5th, we're going to be at the Paris Town Garden Show, which was a great event for us last year. Had a lot of interest, a lot of throughput, and interest in the club, which is great. And then on the 15th of next month, our general meeting will be a forest creation with some Korean hornbeam that we've ordered. The tickets are how much there? $100. Yeah, I think it's $100. So check it. It's $100. There are 15 spots. A couple have sold, but there are some still left. So if you want to do that, be sure to get a ticket for that. And then the other one we are doing is the Tree Fest on the 19th. Is I think a Saturday. It's at Peterson Park. Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry, Peterson Park. But yeah, it's let's see, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And again, that and the Paris Town Show are really just events that we're going to use to promote the show in May. So that's it. Oh, sorry, one more thing. If you haven't paid your dues, please try and do so before March. if you paid late in the year last year, just let me know. We'll make a note on our list so that we'll just hit you up when time comes. But we do try and generally collect all our dues by March for that year. So you can pay me by check. You can pay on the website. You can Venmo me.
Good. I thought you were going to keep going. That would have been nice. So as usual, we're going to have a raffle tonight as well. We got a bunch of good items over here on the table. One of them is the Bones Out Today issue number 1. Super rare. Online, I'm sure you couldn't find it for less than 25 or 30 bucks. So super nice item. A couple other Bonsai magazines, but like I've mentioned previously, Bones Out Today is the only English written magazine that's tailored towards professionals. So, but there's lots of great information in these magazines, good, pretty pictures to look at. But so there's a number of these that are up there. We've got a pair of shears, a bag of New Zealand sphagnum moss, a couple of different containers, little set of assorted sizes of wire, and that's about it for tonight.
Yeah, it'll be 1 for $5 and 5 for $20.
That's right. And I'll also throw one of my recently handmade chopsticks on the table too as an item that you can get. So this is one of the primary tools that we'll use for soil excavation around the trunk of the tree, as well as helping to pack soil back into the container once we've refreshed that. So this is different than a traditional chopstick because it has a flat side, and on one side it's a beveled point. So as we compact the soil into the container, the bevel point helps to compact the soil and not leave any air pockets. So it's a very effective tool. Some of the top professionals in the United States repot with a tool similar to this, for repotting. But we'll throw one of these over there as well. So before we get into throwing some dirt around, we should sell some raffle tickets. So Bob's going to show us the tree that he brought. It's a nice little Japanese maple. You can see that we've got it right about the perfect timing where the buds are swelling, and then you can start to see a slight bit of emergence from the branches around the plant. So when we're repotting deciduous, we want them at this stage. Maybe, the tree behind me is a little bit late, but it's still safe to go ahead and do that since it's not fully leafed out yet. But somewhere between this and how far this other Japanese maple is out is a good time to repot your deciduous plants. So, when Bob took it out of the container initially, he squeezed the sides and then kind of took it out. He's already worked the soil quite a bit. So, what's that? Yeah, so he's essentially what he's going to do is he's trying to take it from this training container, which is not very, doesn't have as much airspace and or doesn't have, this is a special type of root development container where, as I mentioned, some roots will circle. This type of pot, it has air holes all throughout the side. So as the roots hit those holes, the roots will die at the tip, and they will kind of what's called backbud. They will start to grow in a more denser area around the trunk. So he prepared his pot. We usually will at least run our support wire. So this is going to hold the tree into the container once we get it. Once the roots are ready to be splayed out and put in here, but we'll fill a little bit of soil in there to start. Put the tree in, and then continue to fill in the soil up to the top in just a second. Are you brushing teeth?
That's available.
I haven't seen that method before, though. Thank you for showing. See, you can make your tools. You can use your old toothbrush. Just get inventive, right?
Sometimes you do a little damage with your root hook.
Is this a special Japanese toothbrush? No? All right. So sometimes when it's nice and windy or nice and sunny outside and we're repotting, we'll either have a mist bottle and mist the roots so that they don't dry out. We can also put a little bit of soil into the container preemptively just to take one of the steps or to shorten the time that the tree has its roots exposed into going into new soil. Do you want to use this club soil that I brought, or do you want to use the mix that you brought?
Oh, I'll just use what I brought.
All right, so Bob's an experienced grower. He's been growing for a couple years. How long now?
Can't remember.
Whatever. He keeps lots of trees alive, so that means that he's a grower, you know. So he's got a beautiful collection. Hopefully he'll share some with me before long. But so he brought this type of soil in to replant in, which is...
It's actually a combination of canuba, or not canuba, but pumice.
Pumice, lava, and akadama.
You know, it's just wet, and it's seen 1 year, but it's still good. And for a grower pot, it's still okay.
So some of this larger particulate is pine fines or shredded pine nuggets, which is a pretty decent component as well for a smaller plant. They're very moisture retentive, holds lots of water. So on this young plant, we're not necessarily going to be putting it in the expensive akadama, pumice, and lava mixture because that's a little bit more expensive. And younger trees typically prefer a more organic-based soil. So you can see it's got lots of akadama as well as other organic pieces of sticks and stems and all that stuff. So he's getting a test fit right now. He's spread the roots out so they've got area to travel around the pot and away from the trunk. I guess he's potting it a little bit recessed so that as he waters, there's a nice lip on the side that will catch the water and keep it all going into the container instead of running off the sides. Where if you look at, this container, this tree is slightly potted above grade, and it's been difficult to keep water into the container. Once it gets hydrophobic in the summertime, you'll have lots of sheeting of water off of the soil. So when we repot this, I can kind of show you, we'll leave a small lip as well. Not as much as that, but that's just a tree that's in development. What else you got, Bob?
It's really unique. If you didn't notice, it has all these, and what you can do, you can pull some of your limbs down.
You want some smaller wire?
Yeah, this will work.
All right.
It's a little heavy, but it'll work.
Right, so Bob's implementing a guy wire right now. So guy wiring is great for deciduous plants because they grow so quickly. And if you were to wire these branches traditionally with a normal coil, the tree could most likely grow into that, and then it would scar the branch, which is kind of a permanent thing. So using this guy wire, he's starting to spread out the base of the tree. Make sure that all the leaves that are going to pop out are going to have full access to the sun and not be kind of bunched up. So guy wiring is a great technique, just to get some stuff spread out. You can do it all over the tree. or just on a couple branches.
So then you go.
So now we'll make a little mound underneath. And now that I've got the tree, it's obviously very high, so you can usually do a few turns while I'm pressing down. That's working that pile of soil up into the bottom of the root ball to make sure there's good solid contact. So now I'm gonna backfill with the soil. And we'll put a little bit of extra soil on top so that as I go around and chopstick it in, I'll have extra soil to work with. So kind of grab about a medium chopstick, and then we're going to start the tree. I'm going to use my offhand to hold the soil in place. I'm going to start to chopstick the soil starting at the trunk. And then once it's nice and firm, I'm going to work my way out to the wall of the pot, making sure that I'm getting good contact with the soil. And then I'll rotate it. Grab some extra soil, chopstick into the mound.
This stuff down into that dirt, right?
Correct.
Is that what you're trying
Correct.
to accomplish?
Yes. Yeah. So in doing this, I'm making sure that this new soil has good contact with the root ball on top, and hopefully some of this soil will work its way into the root system that's existing. And that's why we're applying a good amount of pressure. I'm not doing it very lightly, or I'm not stabbing it to death, but I'm definitely am applying a good amount of pressure to make sure that we're eliminating any kind of air pockets. But yeah, chopsticking is one of the longest, most tedious processes, but it's also very important. If you have an air pocket, then you will have root death around that air pocket. It also helps, to do this before it's this much leafed out, because I keep knocking off all kinds of new leaves.
What kind of make was that, Russ?
I think it's a Kiyohime.
Got some tiny leaves.
Yes. Everybody asks me if it's a weed plant. No. No, it's Japanese maple. Once the leaves come out, they're pretty stout, very nice, compact. So to the non-bonsai hobbyist, it's easy to think something like that. But yeah, it's very very identifiable as a Japanese maple with small leaves. All right, so now that I've gone around, compacted the soil in, I'm gonna bring this little small broom and start to contour the soil. Actually, let me tie it in first. So I'm crossing the wires, grabbing them in the middle, and twisting. And as I twist, I'm pulling the slack out and twisting, so I get a nice coil that the wires are not going on top of each other, but I get tension, twist, tension, twist. And I'll get the first one about 80% complete, and then I'll go to the other side. If we can go underneath the root, that would be great. As I mentioned, scarring on the branches with wires. You can also scar the roots as well. That's permanent, so we don't want to do that. Pull all the tension out. I'm going to twist that down till the coil is on the soil surface. Cut off the excess, leaving at least 2 or 3 coils so that the wire doesn't come undone. And you kind of tuck it in. So this wire is exposed right now. There's a little trick that we can use to cover that up. Go and finish this out, get that another turn. All right. Now we can start to move around this excess soil. We want to contour the soil surface so that there's hopefully going to be a very, very slight lip along the edge of the pot. Now I've got most of the excess soil off. Kind of get it away from the edge. Looks pretty good. A little bit warm now. So everything looks great except for the tie-down wires. So we're going to use some sphagnum moss. What we'll do is take some out of that bag that's on the table. I'm going to fill this bucket up with water. We're going to soak the sphagnum in here for just a second, and then we'll apply it to the soil surface. Press it into the water, squeeze it like a sponge. And it'll start to hold a little bit more moisture. Usually when you're doing a number of repottings, we'll be doing a number of a big batch or a number of different trees. So we'll have this already sitting, waiting in a much larger amount of water. And it, once it sits and soaks for about 5 minutes or so, it's ready to use. But if you agitate it, go through, squeeze it, mix it around, that will be sufficient. So once it's nice and saturated, this is the New Zealand long fiber sphagnum moss. So we'll take it and kind of spread it apart. We don't want it to be in clumps, but I'll spread it apart preemptively. And then I'll take and spread a thin single layer over the soil surface. So this is for 2 reasons. One, it's going to help retain a little bit extra moisture. And 2, it's covering up my tie-down wires so that nobody sees those. Just lets you focus more on the tree. It's also eliminating the contrast of the white pumice with the tree. Just gives a more homogeneous look, less distraction in the soil so that you can focus more on the container and the tree itself. So it'll stay this color. Often we will grate it on a soil sieve, and that will create milled sphagnum moss. And then we can sprinkle that in a very thin layer. We can also sprinkle moss spores onto that milled sphagnum, and you can actually, that's a good base for growing moss across your soil surface. So it's very hard to get moss to grow on soil alone. So yeah, so that's why you need the milled sphagnum moss is more of a mulch or a nurse crop to help the desirable moss become established.
Russ, do you ever dye yours like sumi?
Yeah, so that's definitely a possibility. You know, some high class individuals definitely will take the time to put a little bit of sumie ink, which is just black watercolor ink, and they'll put it into the water, and that will help to kind of make it a more grayish color instead of this orangish type. So, but you know, so that's pretty much about it for this. When I water it, I'm going to water it excessively for the first time. I want to make sure to rinse any particulate or any debris that's inside that container to make sure that it does not clog up the air exchange holes or the drainage screens.